Joining us on stage is Sarah Hatt, and we have Eleonora, Alex Manley. Please welcome them to the stage.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Really good to have you here and bring on the challenge, operating within complexity. This is the self-help group. Welcome. So we know that we've heard lots of great stories today, and getting these things live and into market from a personalization perspective can have a huge impact for our customers. But we also know that behind the scenes, you guys as marketers and Elle and Sarah, who we have on stage, are doing a lot in the background to make that happen. We operate within challenging environments, and one of the most challenging industries, arguably, is financial services. So I'm delighted to be joined by Elle and Sarah, who are going to talk a little bit more around how they've launched some of their personalization strategies and how they've brought their organizations with them along the way. So I'll start with some introductions. Sarah, can you share a little bit about Tide and your role at Tide?
Yeah, sure. So Tide is the UK's leading business financial platform. We're not just a business bank. And our mission is to save small business owners time and money on their banking admin. We support them right from the very beginning of setting up their business through company formation, all the way through to taking their companies to the next level. So a huge part of that is us kind of taking them on that journey through all of our various product offerings, from a business current account to credit to invoicing, accounting software, using your card, subscription plans, the kind of list goes on. And then where I sit within that whole host of things is I'm in the member engagement marketing team, and I head up the engagement squad. Our role generally is to walk our members through that customer life cycle. So taking them from the first steps of going, I've got an idea, how do I set up my business, into how do I grow and how do I kind of exceed from there. We're a team of many CRM marketers, two of whom are in the room, just over there, filming me, and social media content, and we also work really closely with our product folks. So yeah, lots of work goes into making sure our members get the right messages at the right time about the most relevant products and services for them.
Awesome, thank you. And Elle, can I invite you to do the same?
Of course, yes. I'm Eleonora, I'm the Associate CVM Director for StoneX. StoneX is one of the largest trading providers. We're actually listed on the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. In my team, I look after new technologies. Of course, we work very closely with you as one of our partners, and any data-driven project from the initial idea to the implementation, the testing, the analysis afterwards. And I work very closely with my director, who is sitting as well, front row, thank you, on creating CRM strategies for the team. We have different regions and different team members, so we work very closely with all of them.
Awesome. So I want to set the stage a little bit. Obviously today we're really focused on personalization, and I'd love to understand a little bit around how your teams are thinking about personalization today. And Sarah, I might come to you first.
Yeah, so as I said, our mission at Tide is to save small business owners time and money, right? So there's one thing that a heavy inbox doesn't do, and that is helping someone save time on their admin. So our mission kind of threads through everything that we do, particularly within our marketing squads. We try to make sure that everything we send our members is highly relevant to the situation that they're in, both in terms of what kind of industry they're in, what stage of business growth they are, whether they're a sole trader or a limited company. There's so many kind of variations of an experience that these people have, and we try to make sure that our communications adapt to this. We do this through using amazing tools like Movable, obviously, but also making sure that our data modeling is in a really good place to do kind of hyper-targeted messaging. So making sure that we're not necessarily talking to a one-man band sole trader who's selling on the weekend and referring them to the same sort of products that we talk to someone who's been operating for 5 years and has got 5 employees. So everything that we do, although we are technically B2B, we're talking to individuals in this situation. So it's very, very similar to the kind of operating structures you'd have within a B2C situation. But yeah, it's all about our data. It's about making sure that we've got actionable, usable data, and that is at the core of everything we do. And thankfully, we've got some amazing data teams who kind of help us on that journey.
Amazing, thank you. And Elle, I might come to you. What's your kind of North Star as you think about personalization at StoneX? What's the direction of travel right now?
Yes, so as a team, we try to achieve the multi-channel, the omni-channel strategy. So what we would love to have in place and what we're working towards to have is a journey that triggers communications based on each individual client's perspective and their favorite content. So to give you an example and to put this into context with obviously StoneX, that could be that, for example, I might receive an email about the upcoming USB CPI data release because I trade FX pairs and I trade equities like Apple stock, for example. But on the contrary, maybe you will receive a push notifications because that's what you engage the most and that's what is your preferred channel. Or maybe you won't receive anything at all because actually you don't trade any of these asset classes and you're much more into metal or commodities. So this is what we're trying to achieve. We want to be in a place where the communication we send to clients is tailored to them, to their moment in the customer journey, to their precise favorite content, and is unique to them.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking about trading in particular for you guys and how important real-time data is within that and kind of providing those, not even up to the minute, like up to the second insights. We've got an example here on the screen. Are you able to kind of double click on that a little bit and share some more?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to give a massive shout out to Alex Wagner, which, we work very closely with. The amount of email, like I was saying earlier, that we send there and the amount of help and support she gives us is immense. So thank you so much.
Alex is on our CX team and she's fabulous. Love working with her.
100% recommended. So what you can see on the screen now is an example of one of the emails we send out via City Index, one of the brands of StoneX. What I would like to point the attention of the audience is two of the promo boxes. Besides the whole email actually being constructed with Movable link, top to bottom, the two promo boxes that you can see highlighted are new custom apps that have been built during the last year with Alex. And what we're showing is the economic calendar and also the trader sentiment with the live prices integrated. What this means is that any communication that we send out which contains these blocks and more, this is just an example of what we use, we'll always have communication, we'll always have content up to date. So we don't have to worry about what we're sending out, is it up to date, do we need to go in and check it. So everything we send out, we try to have content relevant for the customers with minimum effort from the team so that we can move on with different challenges.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a set and forget methodology
Exactly.
where you guys are kind of putting the work in at the beginning and then letting that run and do its thing.
Exactly that.
Great. And for Tide as a scale-up, you guys are also in a fast-paced environment, right? And getting kind of true personalization out the door can be a real mountain to climb. Are you able to share an example of perhaps one of your favorite live-in-market personalization approaches?
Yeah, so we onboarded with Movable. God, I keep saying it's about a year ago, but it's definitely over that now. I'm looking at Jefferson. You can probably tell me exactly when it was. And at the beginning, there was lots of chat around, there's all these different things that we could do. But the one I'm going to talk about selfishly is one that my team ran. So we had done quite a lot of work in improving our member experience in early life. So as I mentioned earlier, when you're just setting up your business bank account, that is one of the first things you do. Often these people don't know what they need to do next. They could have just got an idea and they're just starting on that journey. So one of the key things we wanted to be able to help the members do is walk them through the first steps of setting up their business banking. And we built this out in a really manual way, just using the dynamic content capability within our ESP. And building this was fine. It operated just as it should do. However, we couldn't do much in terms of making it look jazzy or optimizing it, and measuring it was really, really tricky. So this was the first kind of big project that we got live with Movable, and it was all about leveraging our member data to try and walk them through these early life actions and encourage them to complete them, and then encourage them through those steps and take them on to the next level. So once they completed all the steps, we could then go, hey, what about this great new thing that's going to work for you? As it says on the slide here, this had a 69% uplift in click-through rate versus the previous version, which is amazing on our side of things. It's kind of unheard of in terms of A/B tests on our side. And it wasn't just the fact that it performed that well. Operationally, it totally changed the game for us. It meant that we didn't have to be fiddling around with code every single day. And it was a really good one to kind of get our teeth into at the beginning of the process of working with Movable, so it kind of helped show us what was possible. But yeah, it's a really nice one, and you know, we're at the point now where we're trying to optimize it even further and work on how we can make this, you know, part of our wider piece of encouraging those next best actions in life.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how important it is, particularly for kind of newer brands stepping into the marketplace, to really make a powerful first impression, and like making things jazzy. We'll put that on the Movable Link website, marketing team. Making things jazzy is actually really important, and it drives meaningful results. And then to have the cherry on top that it's making things more simple for your team feels like a good win-win.
And banking doesn't have to be boring. I feel like that can be another little quote from today.
New slogan.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, but it doesn't, and I'm not saying this is game-changing necessarily, but we want people to be engaged. This is people's, you know, this might be their one thing they've been wanting to do for years and years and years, and we want them to feel excited about it. So how can we make our communications marry up to that as much as we can?
Yeah, and I might stick with you, Sarah. We've kind of spoken about a couple of use cases on both sides of the house here that are live and in market, and the reason that folks are joining now is around, you know, the challenges that come to us as marketers to get things out the door. Are you able to share kind of the challenges that you found with bringing personalization to life for your customers?
Yeah, so I'm sure anyone here who's worked in startup or scale-up environments can attest to this. You're kind of flying by the seat of your pants quite a lot. There's lots of change ongoing, which is really amazing because it means no day's the same. However, it means that there's some catching up that we need to do as we kind of go through the process of building out our engagement strategy. The first thing that I would touch on is data. We've got tons of data. We have loads of really, really insightful bits of information about our members. However, having that much is not always that helpful, as I think some of the other presentations earlier today touched on. One of the key things around that is it may not be real time, it may not be actionable, it may be sitting in different platforms. So we've got quite a lot of work that we still need to do to kind of pull those bits together. For example, we're looking to do a kind of monthly statement communication that goes to our members. However, we don't want to be sending that with any information that isn't correct. We don't ever want to be sending an email to someone going, hey, this is your balance. And they go, hang on a second, I've just had that big invoice paid. Did it not go through? So we need to make sure that whatever we do in that space is as accurate as possible. So that is a slight challenge, but we're working on it. And then on the other side of things is, as I said, it's super fast paced. We have products launching every week, every month, development's happening. So as a result, kind of working out who should get what at what time is a really, really tricky thing for us to manage, because, you know, our product teams want the right people to hear about these amazing things that they've been working on for months and months and months. And we kind of have to manage that relationship a little bit. But, you know, there's lots of processes and support from our operations team that help us do this in the right way. So yeah, it's not all doom and gloom.
And I want to come on to some best practices shortly, but Elle, you shared one of your many use cases that is incredibly complex in terms of the data points coming together. Are you able to give an insight into kind of some of the challenges that you and the wider team have come across
Certainly.
at StoneX?
And I want to echo what you just said, Sarah, because data, I think it can be a challenge any place, to be honest. With StoneX, I'd like to focus attention, at least in our industry, with the approval process. So we operate globally, and we always need to make sure that whichever communication we send out, whether it's an email, a push notification, a postal letter, anything at all that touches the client has to have an approval in place. So that means regional and compliance, and that's a mandatory. And like I said, because StoneX has been around for quite a few years now, and we operate globally, we have teams scattered everywhere around the globe. We operate in 7 languages and counting. We face this extra challenge of having to deal with different team leads, different regional leads, different compliances. And it's especially challenging when we're trying to get a project over the line that's global, that's globally shared. And of course, as you can imagine, and for every business, you always have a timeline that you need to respect. So there's this extra added layer of complexity that it's our business.
And are there particular ways that you're able to share around how you've overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, so in my time at StoneX, but I would say as a marketer in general, I've always found having a brief phone call with whoever you need to deal with is the quickest and simplest solution. Pick up the phone, pick up Teams, whatever we're using, but just have a call with them and discuss in details what you need to do. Because at times we wait for an email response, and then perhaps the email isn't clear, they don't get what you're trying to, come to get across. just pick up the phone and get it sorted, because communication is key, not just for our clients or what we try to communicate to our clients, but also internally to ensure that we have cohesion within the team.
That's great. And Sarah, any best practices, words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
God, yeah, process. Not the most glamorous of words, but yeah, everything for us now is about trying to put in place those processes. Going from that startup to kind of scale up stage, it's all about making sure that what we do is the right thing. And equally to what Ella was just saying, you know, we're highly regulated. We're in financial services, compliance is everything. So making sure that everything goes through the relevant checks before it goes out, but equally our operations team work tirelessly to make sure that we've got, you know, data dictionaries that are in place, QA processes, extensive QA processes, and sometimes smaller businesses, well, we're not that small anymore, I say smaller businesses like us, you know, earlier life businesses like us are quite resistant to that stuff because it feels like, oh, that's a preventative measure that's going to stop us from getting things out quickly. But we've had to adapt and we've had to change to make sure that we can do things the right way. And the other piece of work that we're working on is a really interesting and challenging campaign prioritization piece of work that Tom, who's sat over there, another shout out, with the shout out queens, and I are working on. And it's all around making sure that we serve our members with the most relevant product for them, the most relevant time. And that's going, right, what's going to help them grow? What's going to help their business go to the next level? Is it getting, you know, our latest bit of tech software? I was about to give something away then. Stop myself. Our latest bit of tech to them so they can use that to help their business go forward. Is it our cashback plan so they can earn money from spending? So making sure that we're picking the right product for them, not just for us. It sounds so obvious, but it's not always that obvious when you're sat at work all day trying to hit your targets.
That's right, and sometimes the things that are right in front of us that sound so straightforward when we say them aloud actually are the things that you miss, right, because they're right there.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing in both of the examples that you gave is really kind of nudging the culture, so picking up the phone, thinking about, well, are we a little bit being kind of anti-process here because we're coming from this scale-up environment, what needs to change, and kind of iterating on that as you go to create an environment that means, yes, this is complex, yes, this is difficult, but as long as we're all around the table and able to have those conversations, things can move forward.
Yeah, I would just say to that, it's about giving people confidence and like that freedom within a framework and making sure that when you have, you know, junior people coming up through the ranks, they're sat there and they're like, okay, I know that I've got these processes. I know that what I do isn't going to cause the world to end. So although we're in a highly regulated, you know, potentially stressful environment, we have those processes in place. There's not an awful lot that can go wrong. So it kind of allows people to be a bit more creative within the framework that they're in.
And knowing it's okay to ask the questions, right? If someone in the room is thinking, I don't understand what this person is saying, they're probably not the only person in the room that's thinking that, but having the confidence to kind of ask about it and figure that out.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of minutes left. I know you'll both be around kind of after this session if folks had some questions. I wanted to leave the audience with, let's think about marketers that might be starting their personalization journey. What kind of tips can you share for those guys to kind of walk out of the room with to get started? I might come to you first, Elle.
Of course. So first thing first, I'd say don't get overwhelmed, because that's the first thing possibly you would do. Don't get overwhelmed. Start thinking of, you know, of your Nirvana journey. So what would you like to do? Your Nirvana process. What would you, if you could do anything with any tool, what would that look like? So draw that down, have a clear view what you want to achieve. Once you have that, you need to go back to reality and actually check, unfortunately, actually check what you have available to you at that very moment, and then just have a process. Okay, so there's going to be a quick win there, and then it's going to be medium term and long term, and that's how you have to do it, from your vision, how you want to do it, and where you want to go, to how to get there, step by step.
Absolutely, starting with the end in mind.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Sarah, what would you share?
Gosh, I think the first thing I'd say is just get started. I think we had a bit of decision paralysis on our end when we first started with Movable. There was lots of thinking, but not an awful lot of doing. And in my team, we were like, let's just get something out. Let's just do something. So we did like a car personalization test, which was super easy for us to get out the door. It was not game-changing by any stretch of the imagination. However, it got us to kind of start using the tools, and it did drive engagement rates. It didn't, you know, drive as much like as good engagement rates as, say, the progress bar that I showed earlier, but it meant that we were getting our teeth into the platform and we were learning how to use it. The second thing I would say is lean heavily on the Movable team. As I mentioned earlier, working with Jefferson, like the guys are always there for us to kind of ask them any questions, and I think they thrive off it. They want us to ask them questions and they want us to kind of get involved
nodding, yeah.
and do all of that with them. I always tell the team if they've got any ideas and they can't quite like see it, as Ellie was saying, you know, talk to our team at Movable. And then the third thing I would really advise is look for inspiration, not just from your competitors, but from your comparators. So we're at Tide, we're not a business bank account, as I said. We're kind of like a tech platform, essentially, that supports small businesses. So we look at like SaaS providers and those kind of different organizations to get inspiration. And my top tip always is go onto reallygoodemails.com, favorite website, and find things on there. And, you know, it may not feel at all relevant to your industry, but there will be tidbits. All of my campaign ideas I've stolen from from there or from my inbox. So that's my top tip.
Yeah.
Very common.
Steal. Yeah.
Agreed.
Feel free to get your phones out, find really good emails, and take that hot tip. I think what I'm hearing across both before we close is, yes, we're operating in complex environments and things can feel really challenging, but stepping out, kind of starting with the end in mind, starting with something less complex to begin with, and thinking about, well, what's going on in industries that perhaps aren't as complex? How can I refresh my thinking to bring that all together and move towards your North Star of personalisation? Cool. We'll close there. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you both.
Thank you.